Be honest with yourself for a moment. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered why you suddenly look more tired, older, or somehow less vibrant than you used to feel inside? And no, it's not always because of aging. Sometimes, it's the hairstyle you've been holding on to for years. A hairstyle can either soften your features, brighten your face, and bring back elegance. Or it can quietly add 10 extra years without you even realizing it. And the hardest part is this. Many women keep the same haircut for decades because it feels safe, familiar, comfortable. But hair changes as we age. Our face shape changes. Hair texture changes. Even the way light hits the skin changes. What looked beautiful at 40 can suddenly feel heavy, harsh, or outdated at 60 or 70. The good news? You do not need drastic makeovers to look refreshed again. Sometimes one small change, softer layers, better volume, a gentler shape around the face, can completely transform how youthful and elegant you appear. In today's video, we're going to talk about the hairstyles that may secretly be aging you, and what to do instead so you can look softer, fresher, and naturally beautiful without trying too hard. And trust me, one of these mistakes is incredibly common among mature women. Let's begin with one of the biggest mistakes women make after 60, holding on to extremely stiff and overly structured hairstyles. For many women, structured hairstyles once felt polished and elegant. And years ago they probably were. Back then, fuller hair and firmer facial features balanced those sharp shapes beautifully. But as we age, overly stiff hairstyles often begin working against us instead of helping us. You've probably seen this before. Hair sprayed heavily into place. Hard helmet-like shapes. Very sharp lines around the jaw. No softness. No movement. Instead of creating elegance, these styles can make the face appear harsher and older. And here's why. As we mature, our facial features naturally soften. Skin loses some firmness. Hair texture often becomes thinner or drier. So when the hairstyle becomes too rigid, it creates contrast in the wrong way. The hair starts looking separate from the face instead of flowing naturally with it. This is especially common with stiff short cuts that sit tightly around the cheeks or neck. Rather than lifting the appearance, they drag attention downward and emphasize heaviness in the face. Even worse, heavy hairspray and overly controlled styles can make thinning hair more obvious because the hair loses natural movement and dimension. But the solution is surprisingly simple. Instead of stiff structure, choose softness. Soft layers. Gentle movement. Light volume around the crown. Feathered edges near the face. These details instantly create a fresher and more youthful appearance without making you look like you're trying to look younger. And that's the key. The goal is never to chase youth. The goal is to look vibrant, elegant, and alive. One of the most flattering things mature women can do is allow the hair to move naturally again. A hairstyle with softness reflects light better, frames the face more gently, and creates a relaxed elegance that feels modern instead of outdated. Even a simple bob can become dramatically more youthful when the edges are softened slightly instead of cut into a blunt, rigid shape. Another important detail is crown volume. Flat hair at the top can instantly make the entire face look tired. But soft, natural lift at the crown creates balance and brings energy back into the overall appearance. And no, this does not mean teasing the hair heavily like decades ago. Modern volume is subtle. It looks effortless. Beautiful mature hairstyles today are lighter, softer, and more natural looking than ever before. And perhaps the most powerful transformation happens emotionally. When women finally let go of those hard, frozen hairstyles from the past, something changes. They stop looking overly done and start looking approachable, graceful, and confident again. The truth is, softness is incredibly youthful. Not because it hides age, but because it brings warmth back to the face. Now moving on, let's talk about another hairstyle mistake that quietly adds years to the face. Extremely dark, flat hair color with no dimension. This is one of the most common aging mistakes mature women make, especially women who have been coloring their hair the same shade for decades. And honestly, it makes sense. When those first gray hairs appeared years ago, darker color probably helped you feel polished and youthful again. It gave definition to the hair and made everything feel richer. But as the years pass, something changes. The skin softens. Natural contrast in the face becomes gentler. Fine lines become more visible. Hair texture changes. And suddenly, that same dark solid color that once looked elegant can begin looking harsh and heavy instead. Especially jet black or very deep brown shades. Instead of brightening the face, overly dark hair can create shadows around the eyes, emphasize under-eye hollowness, and make skin appear dull or tired. And the problem becomes even worse when the color is completely flat with no variation or softness. Real hair naturally reflects light in different ways. But when hair is dyed one solid dark shade from roots to ends, it can start looking unnatural, almost like a helmet sitting on the head. This is why many mature women unknowingly look older immediately after coloring their hair too dark. But thankfully, the fix does not require dramatic changes. In fact, the most youthful hair color choices for older women are usually softer, dimensional, and more natural looking. Instead of harsh black tones, softer shades like warm brown, honey brunette, soft silver blends, champagne blonde, or dimensional gray can bring incredible warmth back into the face. Even subtle highlights around the front can make the eyes appear brighter, and the skin look healthier. And here's something many women don't realize. Softness around the face matters more than covering every gray hair. That's right. Trying too hard to erase every sign of aging often creates the opposite effect. Modern elegant beauty is no longer about looking artificially young. It's about looking radiant, healthy, and natural. Some of the most beautiful mature women today embrace dimension in their hair instead of fighting against every silver strand. And dimension is the secret. A little variation in tone creates movement. It reflects light beautifully. It gives life back to thinning or flat hair. Even gray hair can look incredibly luxurious when it has softness, shine, and proper shape. But dull flat color with no depth can instantly age the entire appearance. Another mistake many women make is ignoring eyebrow color when darkening the hair. Very dark hair paired with fading brows can create imbalance and make facial features appear harsher. Soft harmony always looks more youthful than strong contrast. And perhaps the biggest emotional transformation happens when women stop trying to recreate the exact version of themselves from 30 years ago. Because beauty at this stage of life is different. It becomes softer, calmer, more graceful. And when the hair color finally works with the face instead of fighting against it, everything changes. The skin glows more naturally. The eyes stand out again. The face appears lighter and more relaxed. Sometimes the most youthful thing a woman can do is soften. Another hairstyle mistake that deserves attention is wearing hair that is far too long without shape, movement, or support. Now this may surprise some women, because many people believe long hair automatically looks younger. But that's not always true. In fact, after a certain age, overly long hair without layers or structure can actually pull the entire face downward and make features appear more tired. And the reason is very simple. As we age, hair naturally loses density and elasticity. It often becomes finer, drier, or flatter than it was years ago. So when long hair hangs heavily without movement, it can begin looking lifeless instead of elegant. You may have seen this before. Very long straight hair with no volume. Thin ends that look weak or stringy. Hair hanging flat against the cheeks. No softness around the face. Instead of creating beauty and femininity, the hair starts dragging attention downward. And unfortunately, this can make the neck, jawline, and lower face appear heavier. What many mature women don't realize is that youthful hairstyles are not really about length. They're about balance and movement. Some women look stunning with longer hair after 60 or even 70. But the difference is that their hair has softness, body, and intentional shaping. Healthy-looking movement is what creates elegance. That's why layered shoulder-length styles often work beautifully for mature women. They keep enough length to feel feminine, while still giving the hair lift and freshness. Face-framing layers can soften features instantly. Gentle waves can create fullness. Shorter layers near the crown can restore energy to the entire appearance. Even subtle texture changes everything. And perhaps the biggest mistake is holding on to long hair simply because cutting it feels emotional. For many women, long hair represents youth, identity, or memories from another chapter of life. So letting go of length can feel frightening. But here's the truth. You do not lose your femininity by choosing a more flattering hairstyle. In many cases, women actually look more elegant, sophisticated, and confident once unnecessary length is removed. The face becomes more visible. The eyes stand out more. The entire appearance feels lighter. And no, this does not mean every mature woman should cut her hair short. That's another myth. The goal is not short hair. The goal is healthy proportion. Hair should support the face, not overwhelm it. One of the most beautiful transformations often happens when women remove damaged thin ends and replace them with softer shapes that bring life back into the hair. Suddenly the hair looks fuller, healthier, more polished. And emotionally, something changes too. Women often carry themselves differently after finding a hairstyle that truly suits who they are now, not who they were 30 years ago. There's a quiet confidence that appears. Because real beauty in later years is not about trying to look 20 again. It's about looking cared for, balanced, graceful. And sometimes, the hairstyle that makes you look younger is simply the one that allows your natural beauty to breathe again. As we continue, let's take a look at a hairstyle habit that instantly makes many mature women appear older without them realizing it: flat hair with no volume around the crown. This is such a common issue because hair naturally changes with age. Over time, many women notice their hair becoming thinner, finer, or less full than it used to be. The roots don't lift the same way. The crown begins lying flatter against the scalp. And little by little, the hairstyle loses energy. But here's what most women don't realize. Flat hair doesn't just affect the hair itself. It changes the entire balance of the face. When the crown has no lift, the eyes can appear more tired, the cheeks can seem heavier, and the whole face may look dragged downward. Even expensive haircuts can appear aging if the hair sits too flat at the top. And unfortunately, many women accidentally make the problem worse. Heavy styling creams, too much oil, very straight blunt cuts, overly long hair, hard middle parts with no softness. All of these can pull the hair downward and remove the natural fullness that creates a fresher appearance. But the good news is that volume does not mean huge hair. That's an old misconception. Modern volume is soft, light, natural looking. It simply creates gentle height and movement that lifts the face visually. One of the easiest ways to achieve this is through proper layering near the crown. Even subtle layers can create incredible softness and body without making the hairstyle look outdated. Another helpful detail is changing the part slightly. Many women wear the exact same part for decades. But hair naturally becomes flatter over time where it's always separated. A slight side part or softer angled part can instantly create more fullness and movement. And surprisingly, this tiny change alone can make the face look brighter and more youthful. Blow-drying techniques also matter. Instead of flattening the roots downward, lifting gently at the crown while drying can create healthy-looking volume that appears effortless instead of stiff. Texture matters too. Soft waves or loose bends in the hair reflect light beautifully and make thinning hair appear fuller. Hair that moves naturally almost always appears more youthful than hair that is completely flat and lifeless. And emotionally, flat hair often affects confidence more than women realize. Many mature women quietly feel that their hair no longer reflects how vibrant they still feel inside. They feel invisible, tired, older than they truly are. But when softness and lift return to the hair, something emotional changes too. The face opens up again. The eyes sparkle more. There's brightness in the overall appearance that feels alive and feminine. And this is important to understand. You do not need thick youthful hair to look beautiful. You simply need a hairstyle that works with your current texture instead of fighting against it. Some of the most elegant mature women in the world have fine hair. But their hairstyles are shaped carefully to create softness, movement, and balance. That's what creates timeless beauty. Not perfection. Not extreme trends. Not trying to copy younger women. Just healthy shape, softness, and graceful movement that brings light back into the face. The truth is most women are not aging badly. They're simply carrying hairstyles that no longer support the beautiful woman they are today. Sometimes it's the stiff haircut that removes softness from the face. Sometimes it's overly dark color that creates harsh shadows and makes the skin appear tired. Sometimes it's hair that has become too long, too flat, or too heavy without movement or shape. And sometimes, it's simply a lack of softness and volume that quietly steals brightness from the entire appearance. But the beautiful thing is this. Small changes can create extraordinary transformations. A softer layer, a little movement, gentle volume at the crown, a more flattering color, healthier shape around the face. These are not drastic changes. Yet together, they can make a woman look fresher, lighter, more elegant, and more confident almost instantly. And perhaps most importantly, true beauty after 60 is not about looking younger than everyone else. It's about looking vibrant, comfortable in your own skin, graceful, alive. The most attractive hairstyles are the ones that bring warmth back into the face and allow your natural beauty to shine without looking forced. So if you recognized yourself in some of today's mistakes, don't be discouraged. Hair is one of the easiest things to refresh. And sometimes the right hairstyle doesn't just change how others see you. It changes how you see yourself every single morning in the mirror. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path for more elegant beauty and hairstyle advice designed especially for mature women.